I'm British and I'm a Bosca.
Oh, you've really put me on the spot there. Just give me a moment. What do you think? In one word.
I am British and I am sarcastic.
I'm British and Muslim.
Oh, thank you.
Is that enough?
Spell it. Sorry, I'm British. I'm British.
I'm British and I'm happy to be.
We all know that racism has played a part in British history, but how much of a role does it play in society's story today? In the 1980s and 90s, for example, there was anti-black sentiment in this country. We know that because even the police here in London had to admit they were institutionally racist. Things are supposed to have changed since then, but if you listen to the rhetoric against Muslims or immigrants, it's not clear that it has. So, how much has changed? Have we progressed as a society, or is Britain in denial about the fact that it is still British and racist? I'm on my way to Oxford to an EDL demo, another EDL demo. I spend far too much time at these protests. Today, the English Defence League are protesting against Muslim grooming gangs. So they've come together to protest about that. So I'm going to go down and see whether I can speak to some of these EDL protesters to see why they're there and why they don't like Islam.
In my heart I pray, keep St. George in my heart, keep me English till my dying day. No surrender, no surrender, no surrender to the Taliban.
We're here to stop Sharia law and the paedophiles and the how can I put it? Paedophilisation of children from Muslim state.
Oxford doesn't want your fascist crap. It's about having our freedoms of speech, our freedoms to live, and our freedoms, our right as a human being. That's all it is.
They can I don't give a about them. They can go die.
You're able to walk amongst our lot without getting no hassle at all. You know what I mean?
Well, I can't, a lot of your followers have been, saying some unkind words about me and my religion today. But I'm
Not
here
about
to film.
you personally. About the extremist version of Islam, but
But he's
normal
not saying
Muslim
very
people.
nice things about the Prophet, is he?
Nah, well, so I didn't realise I was getting filmed.
You lot say nice things about the EDL.
I don't agree with the EDL. I think, like most people in Britain.
So what you're saying then you agree with young girls getting groomed?
Of course I don't. Why would I?
Well, you're studying saying you don't agree what we're doing. Come on, it works both ways, doesn't it?
I think most people would say that the EDL is blaming Muslims for grooming and child abuse, and it happens in all forms of society. Not just
I'm not saying it don't. But you're stood here and saying all this, that, and the other. Come on, give everyone a break here.
I haven't said anything.
Give people a break, innit?
Give me a break as a Muslim. It's not my fault that a lot of these things happen.
You're right. Extremist Islamism.
People condone it.
We're not against normal Muslim people like yourself.
I think it's horrific when people get abused about why just focus on Muslims.
It's sick, isn't it?
Jimmy Savile abused a lot of people.
Yes. Yeah, but I know what you're saying.
Did.
Well, they all did, didn't they, in the 80s? And one of them say
He wasn't a Muslim.
No, but what I'm trying to say...
What he's trying to say...
The majority are Muslim gangs, aren't they?
I've got 2 kids.
All of it's wrong.
But why then just focus on the Muslims that are doing it?
We focus on everything.
Because it's Muslim gangs doing it, and they're doing it to hundreds of kids. I know Jimmy Savile was wrong.
He did it to hundreds of kids.
Yeah.
It's not just a one-off though, is it? Where I live in Telford, it's full of it. Rotherham, Bradford.
I think what ISIS are doing in Syria, do you think that's acceptable?
I don't think it's acceptable at all. I know people...
Islam, religion of peace.
I know many Muslims who have been killed by ISIS
9/11,
in Syria.
7/7, all done in the religion of
They
peace.
still keep going over in it. It's always like...
That's right, though.
Muslim people are going over in it.
You keep saying Islam is the religion of peace. You've caused more terrorist acts than anybody else in the whole world.
I understand why you might think that, but that's actually factually not correct.
We can tell you where the extremism comes from. It's 1400 years old. It's long before Blair took anyone to war, long before any of that. It's there with what Muhammad written, the things that he wanted said. That's where the extremism comes from.
A lot of people have said to me that there's over 1 billion Muslims in the world and there's only a small number that are doing these things in the name of being Muslim or Islamic. So do you feel that if Islam really was what you're saying and there was 1 billion Muslims in the world, wouldn't the world be quite a different place to the...
All right, answering your question then, those non-Muslims you're saying who disagree with you all, how come they don't stand up to ISIS? They don't, do they? They protect them and hide them and everything else, and they do.
Do you know that more Muslims have been killed by ISIS than non-Muslims?
Yeah, is that they don't believe in what they say?
Right, let me ask you a question. Right, a serious one. What is your number? Why, you're saying it's a religion of peace. Why are Muslims not coming out in the street and going, not in the name of Islam? Name me the time when they've been out in the street going, not in the name of Islam.
There has been actually many demonstrations where Muslims have done that, but you know what? A lot of Muslims that we talk to say... Well, if I can just answer to this point so we can discuss it, a lot of Muslims will say that actually we do condemn it. There is some things that are happening as they happen in the fringe of all societies, the same way that you won't have to come out every day and apologise for Jimmy Savile and protest against what Jimmy Savile's done every day.
How can I be related to Jimmy Savile?
But in the eyes of many
How
Muslims...
can I be related? So you're racist then?
No,
Because Jimmy Savile's white, I'm white, so automatically we're connected.
It's the same thing.
So how is it? So how can you dare liken me with Jimmy Savile just because I'm white? Who is racist?
That made you very angry, and that's exactly how Muslims feel when you say that all Muslims are...
When do we say that?
Paedophile gangs.
When do we say that?
Stand on their...
When do we say that?
I don't receive in the news. Do you
tell me, like I said to you.
Well, just got back in the car from the EDL demo and it was interesting as always. As a Muslim, I don't personally get offended by what I hear from there because I just think there's a lot of ignorance. Obviously what they say is very insulting, but I got an opportunity to speak to these EDL members. And you know, when you speak to them, in some way, I can understand where they're coming from. I really believe that the EDL members and the people that I've spoken to so many times when I've come on these protests are people who are uneducated and misinformed. And the people who've created these constructs, the people who are misinforming them and the structures that are doing that, they know what they're doing. Maybe those EDL members that I was talking to today, maybe they don't know what they're doing. Frankly, they didn't know what they were talking about. Well, I've spent the day with the EDL where most of the hate was really focused towards Muslims and immigrants, but I feel like you can't talk about racism here in Britain without talking about the experience of the British black community. So I've come to Angeltown here in Brixton to talk to a British black rapper, JaJa Soze, about his experiences.
I grew up as a Rasta background, so obviously growing up, we was taught from a young age about racism and Africa and a lot of our background. And when I grew up a little bit, I came to London. That's when I kind of more experienced racism, more in your face, kind of like I heard someone say, "Oh, like you black bastard," and these kind of names.
How old were you when you said someone called you that?
When I first, I was around, I think I was like 9. I was 9 and someone called me black bastard. I was like, whoa! And with passion as well. When you can see someone say it with passion, like they practice this word, they're practicing it. And that's what makes you. I think it hurts more when you can see the passion of a person when they're saying it. That kind of makes you just think that, okay, that was a white person that said it to me. So at that time, it was like, that makes you just want to lash out on all white people. For a second, I thought that I was wild. Like, raw, is that how they talk? They must all hate us. Then I went to prison at a young age and you just see racism straight in your face there. Like, you be in a cell and the white officers will come open up all the white guys' doors and they get their breakfast first and then we get the leftovers. Like, you just see, as when I was older, you start seeing it a bit more in your face. And then obviously, I started learning about the racism done in a systematical way and through business and through other ways. And that's when I think it hit me more, when I started learning about racism, and not just the black bastard racism, not that kind of racism, the structural one, the one that's done very professional and through economics and through different ways. That's when it kind of hit me more like, wow, this is a very serious thing, and it's done on a serious level. People always say, that was history, our granddad's done certain things, but your granddad's put certain things and built certain structures and institutions, and you lot are still eating off those institutions. You're still making a profit and you're still living your livelihoods from those institutions.
You can't relate to me. I was born in handcuffs. I used to think being born black meant bankrupt. While other kids were shopping out in Toys R Us.
It's hard to explain that vibe until you're actually in that situation. Like I can go somewhere, I can feel someone's vibe, their bad energy. You can feel the negative energy towards you, the way they just even, you could say to someone, okay, give them some change and say, okay, give them a £5 note to buy something. They give you the change, they dash it on the counter, they just throw it on the counter, you're like, and the money just drops on the counter, you're like, whoa. Then you can take your money up, go to the side and watch him serve the next customer and watch him place it in your hand. You're like, wow. So but if you tell someone like, oh, you're overreacting, maybe if your one either slipped out his hand, then after a while you get normal. You get so used to it that it doesn't affect you no more. You become desensitized. I'm saying, so when you go through racist situations every day, from shopkeepers to people on the road to walking behind a lady and she's just looking at you like you're gonna rob her handbag, and just from every day just doing that, it just gets normal.
Who made them think that way? It's
a society. Even if you're from a white neighborhood, like near a village or out of London or something, and you watch the media, that's your communication with the world. And you believe this media, they tell the truth. This television right here tells the truth. They tell us everything we need to know about life, the weather, everything's just correct. You can't argue this box here. So if they see me every day with a hoodie on, a black guy that represents me, a hoodie on, robbing people, taking stuff in the films, he's always stabbing and shooting everyone, you're gonna have the image in your head of this guy. That they don't tell lies on this box. This is what this guy does. He robs grannies, he shoots people, they're always in prison. The prison system is packed with them. They're always in prison, their families are crazy, the dads are never there, it's just chaotic. We see this every day on this box. So when you meet this guy now, straight away you have this image, he's one of those guys from the box. A lot of people just don't say it, that's what it is. So you got people that just not saying it, a lot of these so-called liberal people, they just do it by other means. That's it, but they got the same mentality as those people, but they're just not. They're more educated, so they know how to you can't just come out shouting and doing all that. They just a bit more educated and say, okay, we can't do that, but we can do it a structural way. Yeah, so we can go through social cleansing and we can do different ways of doing things, and that's what it is. There's got different tactics, but he hasn't faded away. The institution sees you as not. They don't see you as British. The institution, like courts, police stations, all those kind of, from you're not like white, they don't see you as British. This is being real. That's how it is. Like you're not British. Like straight. Like if they talk to you, they say and you get arrested or whatever, and they say, okay, where you from? You say Britain. They say, okay, where's your family from? They still always make sure they get that out of you. Like, cause you're not really from here. Where's your family from?
What do you see? Tell me, what do you see when you look at me? What is it exactly that you fear about me? The spice that my cinnamon, gingery, brazen, mahogany skin brings to the table? The jungle that resides on top of my scalp, giving me exotic features that you are unable to put your fingers on? Was it because...
Coming into meeting with JaJa, I was really questioning how much racism in Britain today is about anti-black sentiment, because everything I've heard so far has been anti-Muslim, anti-immigration, even anti-Eastern European, but not anti-black. But any question I had, any doubt I had, he seemed to blow out of the water. He was very stark and very strong in his opinion and his experience. He says racism towards the black community, racism he's experienced growing up and that he continues to face today is very real, and it's happening here and now in Britain. I'm on my way to Euston, where I'll be catching a train to Manchester to meet with Danny. I'm really intrigued about this meeting and I can't wait to sit down and talk to him, because Danny used to be the youth leader of the BNP, the British National Party, until he left, and today he's an activist and a pavement poet, and I'm basically just as intrigued as you to find out what that actually means. I really want to talk to him about why he was a member of the BNP to begin with, why he left, and a little bit more about what he's doing today. So Danny said to meet him on Deansgate by the Lost Dean. So we're just walking up there now. Hi Danny, how are you?
Hello.
Nice to meet you, I'm Narges. Where are we going?
Right, the protest site is down there and sort of over there a bit.
Tell me about where we're going to now.
Right, this is a protest that I kind of happened upon when I arrived in Manchester. The issue is mainly homelessness. It seems Manchester has a lot of it.
Tell me about your family life, your childhood, your upbringing in that way.
I grew up in Swindon. Went to schools locally. Normal life on a council estate, really.
Can you tell me about the time between growing up and kind of the BNP hitting your radar and you getting to know about them? How was that kind of thing?
That was just a decision over which way to vote. It was that anti-European, anti-EU argument, and there was also the concerns at the time about mass, uncontrolled immigration.
Why didn't you see the BNP as an organisation that maybe had hate rhetoric or racism involved in it?
Because you've got to bear in mind, you know, that it was like any other political organisation, that it was made up of regions and different branches, had different outlooks. Fast forward 2 years and I'm at a youth camp and I'm hearing, you know, people like, you know, Nick Griffin, you know, saying things they wouldn't say in public. You know, I'd seen the meetings, I'd been to the meetings, and he was always quite, I don't know, socially acceptable in the meetings, the public face. But, you know, it's one of those things, the more you get into something, the more you start to see the real face of it.
What was being said behind those doors?
They're just stuff I wouldn't want to repeat. It's just a lot more extreme.
Was it racist?
Yes. Yeah, there was some openly, blatantly racist stuff being said.
What have you come to understand as to why an organisation like the BNP would come about?
By and large, people can be a bit shocked by change. So if you have a sudden, overwhelming change in the nature of a society, as Britain did, these things are going to happen. Really, the question should be, you know, why did they get as much attention as they did? Why did they pull so many people in? And the only answer to that can again be that feeling of betrayal. People felt betrayed, they were angry.
Betrayed by who?
Betrayed by the Labour Party, betrayed by the Socialist left, betrayed by people who had always claimed to stand up for the English working classes, but ultimately had been the ones to abandon them. You know, that's the ultimate betrayal. So at that point, where do those people go? They get angry.
When you're talking, I feel like you could be talking about today.
It continues to this day, that's the thing.
So is this an issue about the white working class in Britain?
I think it is. I think they feel like they've lost their communities. If the population experiences a sudden rise, for example, one year I think it was something like 200,000 Eastern Europeans moved into the southwest of England alone. That's 200,000 extra people in the job market.
But there would be people that say even that has a racist undertone to it.
I don't think so, and I think by labelling that as racist, we really do people a disservice, and we really only make them more angry. You can't just whitewash people's legitimate concerns like that. You know, you really can't. You know, you are just going to contribute to the radicalisation.
Tell me how you've changed from that BNP youth leader.
Past few years I've had just more time to be. And just found a bit of happiness in not being angry or having a go at things all the time.
What would your message be if you were sitting with your younger self, or if you were sitting with one of those even angrier BNP members at that time, the ones that you said that were really extreme?
What can you say to them? I knew this one character, a guy called Mark, and he was just locked in this self-destructive pattern. I remember sending an email to Nick Griffin saying, look, this guy's a football hooligan, he's an out-and-out extremist, you know, you need to get rid of him, he's going to do something stupid. He ended up throwing a firebomb through a mosque, which thankfully didn't go off. You know, he couldn't even, you know, he just couldn't do anything. He did that, and he walked into town, and he said, you know, he was a BNP member, and he just exited enemy territory, as he put it, where he'd attacked a mosque with a firebomb that didn't work, and he got 5 years. And you know, the last I heard, he was having a pretty rough time of it inside.
Excuse me, where will I find your chalk?
Chalk, it's got to go the next hour.
Now I write poetry, which I enjoy. You know, I enjoy it. I enjoy interacting with people as they're reading the poetry. It's a completely different life, from politics to art, you know.
I'm really glad that I met with Danny. I feel like he provided much needed insight into why groups like the BNP or the EDL, even UKIP, why they become popular. I've spoken to those angry EDL demonstrators, to young black men who say racism is alive and well in Britain today, but I've also spoken to Danny. He's changed. I think in many ways he represents a lot of where Britain is at the moment. But I think also a lot of people would disagree about what he says, for example, about immigrants coming into Britain and taking their jobs. And I think that what that shows is there needs to be a conversation, a dialogue here in Britain to discuss these issues. I don't think the question mark is on that average EDL member or the guy who joined the BNP. It's on the people and structures who made them British and racist.